All right, let's go. If you're tired of not feeling fit, tired of just not having a focus, tired of just not having the life that you deserve, this is your place to be. I'm Jason Yarusi. This is the Live 100 podcast. Today, we are talking about utilizing your superpower. You know, I can think back to many times when I was young that, just in my mind, I would act as if I was someone else, right? I would have these superpowers. I would be everything from a Superman to G.I. Joe to Macho Randy the Macho Man Savage. I would be all these different characters, right? And I would have that persona, I would have that energy, I would have that life, right? That would invigorate me, that would give me the power, right? It would give me all the things. And, yesterday my kids love WWE and so they're watching one of the matches of the Ultimate Warrior and he has this power where he runs out into the match, right? He runs out there and he's shaking the ropes. And then when he gets down, he finds his energy and he starts raising his fist, starts beating his fist like he's a train, right? Like he's about to get up, he's getting all this energy back and you get invigorated. Yet as we grow up, we lose that imagination. We lose that ability to think about anything outside of just the problems that we're faced with, the little setbacks that are in front of us, the things that are just hurting us in the moment. And when you look at that, life becomes sad. It becomes degrading. It becomes really hurtful. But if you can find that youthful spirit, if you can find that self, right? And some of us with kids, right? It's fun and it's, I'll say easier because you see it in them again. You see that ability. And as a parent, it's so important that you don't take the difficulties that you have and bestow them upon the kids. Sometimes I'm at events and, or just watching my kids and I see parents who are just maybe going through a rough moment, right? And I see it just transcend onto their kids and I see their kids react in a way that they're hurt, right? They're impacted because the parents just not able to deal with their problem in the moment. But if we can pull back, if we can put ourselves in control, and we can find that youthful spirit, we can find that energy, right? We can find, our walk-on song. We can start to open up the life that we've been looking for. We can start to find that energy when we're beaten down. We can find that when a challenge is in front of us, that no longer do we run and hide, that we start beating our fist, that we start having that energy, we start having that song in our head that says we can do it, we can get up, we can face it, we can win still. In life, there's so much of that where it's needed. I watched Rudy, right, with my kids the other day. It's a true story, right? It's where a kid, he finds his way into Notre Dame, is the first one of his family to go to college, right? And it's not an easy path, right? Everybody in his family had worked in a steel mill, and from the steel mill, right, he finds his way into a nearby college by meeting a priest, and the nearby college says, and he's always had bad grades, says, if you get good grades, you'll have the chance to get into Notre Dame. And, the first couple semesters he applies and he doesn't get in, he gets denied. And finally, it's his last chance and he gets in. But that's just the start of the journey, because at that point, he's got to go walk on to Notre Dame, one of the most prestigious sports programs, football sports programs in the country. Still to today, you think about Notre Dame, you think about football, and he walks on and he makes the team. And for a couple of years, he fights and he gets beat up. All he's there to do is just get beat up by other people. One of the coaches, I think in the movie says, you're here for the other guys to beat the heck out of you and we don't have to worry about it. And that's his job. And he shows up and every time he gets knocked on his face, he gets knocked flat in his back, he gets right back up and goes again. And he never, ever gets to dress. And at this moment before the last game, he doesn't make the schedule to dress. And he says, I'm going to give up. I'm going to go back. And he leaves and he goes to the field where a guy he had worked for says, well, why are you quitting? And he talks to him about the story, the guy that was on the Notre Dame football team, right, in college. And at that point, he decided to quit. He decided he wasn't playing because of the color of his skin. And he decided that, I'm going to give up. And he tells Rudy, that was the one thing that every single day I regret. That in the moment, I said, if something was a reason for me to give up, and I never looked back. And today I think about it every day, how I gave up. How many of you giving up right now? How many of you are just saying, enough's enough. I might as well just, face the facts that I'm not worthy. Well, Rudy decides to go back to practice that day. And he goes back and he puts it all to get ready for the game. And the seniors around, they all know Rudy deserves to play, deserves to dress. And they fight for him and they go and they tell the coach that they're not playing unless Rudy's on that field. And Rudy gets the chance to dress for the game. And throughout the whole game, Notre Dame comes out there and they start crushing the other team. They're playing Georgia Tech and we get to the last couple minutes in there. And in fact, all the seniors get to play except Rudy, because the coach, he's just like, oh, that's crazy. We don't need this guy on the field, right? Because the coach had always had this point, right, where he said, oh, Rudy's not good enough. Well, the year prior, there was another coach, and that coach had said Rudy could have his chance to dress one time, right, to show his family one time. That coach ends up leaving Notre Dame. So this coach doesn't know that, doesn't give Rudy the chance. Well, all of a sudden the crowd starts to chant, and they start to say, Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. And lo and behold, Rudy gets to go in there on a kickoff. He goes there, runs down there like a wild man. And then he's about to come off the field. The assistant coach says, stay on, stay on. He lines up a defensive end, and he rushes the quarterback, and he gets the sack in the final play of the game. And this was a point where, in fact, the game was already over, right? The game was already won by Notre Dame. But it was such a significant moment that they carried Rudy off the field. That's the last time to today that Notre Dame has ever carried a player off the field. There's going to be a time when you are knocked down. There's going to be a time when you are just kicked in the face, when you have this thought about giving up, when you have this moment when you say, enough's enough. It's time to just throw in the towel. And in that moment, you have to ask yourself, am I going to be able to live for myself in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, in 30 years? Looking back at this moment today, knowing that I gave up. And that's the choice you're going to have to make. Because in tough times, we have to utilize our superpowers. We have to stand up, and whether it be just to be the wild man, or to have the energy, or to have the resilience, or have the smile, or just have the happy to. That's the light that you deserve. All right, this is your place to be. I'm Yarusi. This is the Live Podcast. Let's do this.